does everybody want Frank Gehry architecture? Do we want houses to look like this? Every other house to be kind of these morphic, strange, odd buildings that leak and have problems? Or, I mean,
know that.
Or does somebody want to live in a nice little cottage house with a nice white picket fence in the front?
It's a water feature.
It's a water feature. Exactly. That's awesome.
Welcome to the Archispeak podcast. I'm Evan Troxel. Each episode, Neil Pan, Cormac Phelan, and I have a casual conversation about all things architecture, and we invite you to listen in as we talk about everything in the profession, both the good and the bad. Maybe you're considering a career in architecture, you're still in school, or you've been around the blocks of Corbusier's City of Tomorrow more times than you'd like to admit. Join us in the studio as we stand around the water cooler and talk about why we love our chosen profession. It's time for some Archispeak.
I died in South Africa. All the outline, my body in Tiffany's blue. When I died, I drove riding and swam with the dolphins and Lisa Frank. And you.
Welcome to episode 46 of the Archispeak podcast. I'm Neil Pan.
I'm Evan Troxel.
And I'm Cormac Phelan.
In this episode, we are really excited to welcome our first sponsor, Wall Protects. We'll talk about them more later in the show, but first up, we have some follow-up and then some friends of the show to announce.
All right, so I have to share with everybody that we got our 50th review on iTunes. And our friend, Nicholas Renard, was number 50. And I just wanted to give him a shout out because Nicholas Renard, let me tell you about this guy. He wants me to say his name 3 times. And how many times have I said it so far?
Once? Twice.
Twice. Say it one more time.
Did I?
No, don't give him the satisfaction. And he didn't even give us $5 for this one, so no.
He didn't pay.
Yeah,
so no.
Well,
what was the last time? It was the final score of his team beating down your team.
Yes, yeah. We don't need to go there right now. Okay.
Well, let me tell you what Nick Renard did. He has listened to every chat we've had, some multiple times, and he continually looks forward to the next casual conversation on all things architecture. So, Nick Renard, that was number 4. You're the man. Thank you very much for pushing us over 50 reviews, and we really appreciate all of your iTunes reviews, everybody who listens, because it really helps the show out. It gets the word out, and we've been going back and forth with the Entree Architect the past few weeks over reviews because his show is well reviewed as well. It really does help out the whole architectural podcast endeavor that we're all a part of, and so we really thank our listeners who have written reviews. And if you haven't written one, if you would, that would be awesome. Just go over to iTunes on the store and look up the Archispeak podcast, and you can write a review there. And so next, we've got 2 friends of the show to announce, and the first one is Eduardo Colon, who donated $8, and he has been a longtime listener to the show, and so thank you very much, Eduardo. And then the second new friend of the show is Andrew Jinks, and Cormac, I think you know this guy.
Don't know.
Right?
Don't know him at all.
Don't know him at all.
Don't recognize his name. Don't know who he is.
Forget I said it. He says in episode 3, at the 1 hour mark, or maybe it was the 1 minute mark.
1:03 mark, he said.
You mentioned that you were working on a comic with a coworker. How's that going? Have you completed the drawing work? I know from episode 16 you're not a fan of procrastinators, so I assume you're done. I bet your co-creator had an awesome story. In fact, he does have a great story, worth at least tens, maybe even 100 issues.
Yeah, it was more like 10. And
so you're going low.
And since it was in podcast episode 3, and
that was like a long time ago,
and he was a coworker. Since he's no longer a coworker,
all bets are off.
I refuse to answer and dignify his statements with procrastination. because I resemble every bit of that. Oh, yeah, trust me.
I think all of our listeners would love to see this happen. So, what do we have to do? We have to take on your work for you.
Create time for me.
Manage projects.
Yes, could you?
Come up with an anti-sleeping medication.
Yes.
Something.
Time machine.
And funny enough, we about to step into it again with him. But funny enough, we're actually chatting about another series of comic stories.
Well, you got to do the first one.
You haven't even done the first one. Nice.
That shut him up.
Anyway, what?
What's the topic for tonight? Moving on.
All right, so that is it for the new friends of the show. We appreciate it, you guys. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Eduardo. And if you would like to have your name read on the Arcus Peak podcast for becoming a friend of the show, donate at least $5 at arcuspeakpodcast.com/donate. We really appreciate all of the donations because they really do help keep the show going, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into making this happen. So head over there right now and donate. We would really appreciate it.
Wait, I do have one real quick question. Didn't he put his phone number on the donation? I'd like to provide that for everybody to call him and tell him to get off my back.
Okay, go ahead.
Kidding.
You can be the one to say it. Oh, actually, we only ask if we can say their name on the podcast. Didn't say anything in that checkbox about providing their phone number or their email address.
All right, so let's get into this here. What are we talking about tonight, Cormac?
Oh, we're talking about something that is blown up the internet quite amazingly over the past week. Has probably infuriated or excited. It's all into the interpretation.
Don't keep us in suspense. Go ahead and read the quote.
Let me tell you one thing. In this world we are living in, 98% of everything that is built and designed today is pure shit. There's no sense of design, no respect for humanity or for anything else. They are damn buildings, and that's it. Once in a while, however, there is a small group of people who does something special. Very few. But good God, leave us alone. We are dedicated to our work. I don't ask for work. I don't have a publicist. I am not waiting for anyone to call me. I work with clients who respect the art of architecture. Therefore, please don't ask as stupid a question as that one. So, that quote comes from our pal, Mr. Frank Gehry, Mr. Fogg. And what was the question that got him all frustrated and irate? Well, the question was, how do you answer those who accuse you of practicing showy architecture? And if any of our listeners haven't heard or seen any of the articles, his immediate...
Which is none of you.
Which is his immediate response to that question was to flip him the bird. And then there was the awkward pause and silence where everybody was trying to figure out, okay, well, we just got his response. What do we do now? And then he, before they asked the question, he went on to, basically state the quote that I just said. And so then as everybody started posting it, resharing it, relinking it, and posting it on Facebook or Instagram and everywhere else, it just took off like wildfire. And I
love those wildflowers.
It is. It took off like wildflowers. Yes, it was quite rosy in some of the responses that he got. And so I want to first ask you two, what was your first visceral reaction to both the how it was presented, photograph, whatever? What did it make you feel like before you started analyze the overall articles and then read more articles and stuff like that? What did it make you feel?
I saw it and I thought, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
And then once I read it, I mean, it didn't really affect me. I've seen a lot of people who are really upset about it. You know, once you start reading the comments, it's pretty amazing how upsetting it was for a lot of people. But I thought, go, Frank. That's what I thought. That was my first reaction.
Neil?
I thought, I got a man crush on Frank.
Neil?
I don't know. It probably a little bit like Evan. It didn't really bother me, other than I guess my first reaction was it seemed like something that was kind of an instantaneous response that wasn't really well thought of. Somebody who's probably just like, I really don't want to deal with you, and this is my blatant first response with like no filter, right? And so I don't know. I wasn't really sure what to think. I guess really my first reaction was this is going to blow up in his face and everybody else's, and that's sort of what has happened. Everybody has an opinion about it, and I don't really care. Frank Gehry does the types of buildings he does, and they're architecturally interesting, and they create conversation for sure. And a lot of people like them. Some people don't. I really don't have a very strong opinion one way or the other. It's not what I would do. I don't really understand his buildings. They don't really speak to me. But that's just, me personally. So, that was kind of my first reaction, though, was, oh boy. And then, of course, he's now, sometime right afterwards, I guess he's come out and apologized. And
well, it was, it was within the same interview. I mean, he literally, within probably 5 or less minutes from making that statement, he was asked a couple of questions, and he's like, "Look, I'm." He basically apologized. He's like, "Look, I'm tired. I'm cranky. I'm jet lagged. You got to cut me a little bit of slack.
I'm 85.
I'm 85. Yeah.
I'm 85. I'm tired of yelling at people to get off my lawn.
Get off my draft.
I honestly had 2 reactions, and I think one of the reactions wasn't necessarily directed more towards him. It was directed as how his comments were perceived by virtually everybody who wrote about it. And then the other one was, you know what? You are sought after. You're not, as part of his comment is like, people come to me for what I give them. And, so I don't have to go out and market. I don't have to do all of this stuff. I don't. So I can essentially do what I want, and people want that. I've been enamored with his work for decades now, and I think I had a greater appreciation before I, really fulfilled my architectural education, and slowly but surely, I've kind of fallen out of love with his work. And I think as an object, if dare I say the showy architecture, I really appreciate it from that standpoint. But I have been in some of his buildings, and as 2 things, tectonically, I think there's a lot of problems with some of them. When you look at them in a picture, it's almost like the models, for a lingerie ad or something. They look great, but they were photoshopped, to the hilt. And in a lot of cases, they really are, because when you get closer and closer and you see that, I wonder why these 2 this what should be a corner doesn't close up. It's because either shoddy workmanship or bad detailing, whatever. Or, you look at it and it's like, that wall would be great to hang a painting on because of the light and everything else. But since it's a warped plane that's going in all different directions, it's really not suited for what its intended purpose is. So, those are just some personal opinions, and I don't really think that, what we feel about their design, is really kind of the point. what really kind of chapped me on all of this was, I stated this in several, postings and, chats that I had with other architects and architectural professionals, designers, and everybody else, is he's become, and he may not want to be, but he has become the de facto mouthpiece of the entire profession. And with that, I personally think, again, whether he likes it or not, or wants it or not, he's got some sense of he should have some sense of responsibility to profession, and to basically lump everybody else's work except for him and his ilk into that 98% of shit architecture, kind of pissed, the way it was written and the way it was presented by people like Gizmodo and everybody else was, that basically he has zero to no respect for the rest of the profession. And I think that's what set most people off. It probably is not, true, but there is some truth to what he's saying about, the quality of the architecture and the quality or the lack of inspiration. But, I think there's, it just really felt like, just a quick and just crotchety attack on architecture.
Well, it could be exactly how he feels. I mean, right? I mean, it could be based on years and years of opinion. I'm sure it is if it comes out that fast. So, I mean, but at the same time, I mean, there are different perspectives to look at this, and I think what you're talking about is kind of from a marketing of architecture perspective, right? Towards people who hire architects could see what he's saying and say, "Oh, really? I mean, is this really what's happening in the world of architecture? Should I do a project with people who do crappy projects?" Or
yeah.
But at the same time, I kind of take this as like he's challenging the status quo, right?
Yes, and that's where I start to split my two minds of the way that was presented was one way. The way it should be taken is a completely different way, and they are exactly right. This should be a call to arms for all designers and architects and everybody else to basically say, yeah, Frank, if that's what you think about us, this is what we can do. And, raise up your, the quality of design, raise up, and
it's so many things. It's such a complicated problem, right?
It is.
Well, Cormac, I have a question for you then. Does everybody want Frank Gehry architecture? Does everybody want to live in Frank Gehry architecture? Do we want to have that on, now he does public buildings. But I'm taking it if we're going to go ahead and include the 98% of everything else. Now, I'm going to assume it's everything else, not just say public buildings or something. But do we want houses to look like this? Every other house to be kind of these morphic, strange, odd buildings that leak and have problems, or I mean,
that.
Or does somebody want to live in a nice little cottage house with a nice white picket fence in the front?
It's a water feature.
It's a water feature. Exactly. That's awesome. But I mean, you see where I'm going with this. Do you think Frank's talking about?
I don't think he's saying that the 2% is his stuff alone. I don't think he's saying that.
Well, I mean, but that 2%, if you read the multitude of other people who've grabbed onto this, this little lightning in a bottle of Gehry flipping everybody off, he wasn't. Here's the funny thing: it was taken purely out of context in 9/10 of the write-ups is look at him, he's given the profession the bird. No, he wasn't. He was given the guy who said, what do you say?
The same thing people that he's heard a million times.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you're just doing showy architecture, and oh my God,
it doesn't mean anything. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, or some of the comments that I may make of like, they all sort of look the same, and so isn't it just a similar response to different programs kind of thing. And then, of course, I've been
Yeah,
blasted.
but a lot of architects do that.
Oh, I was going to... Absolutely.
That's the thing. I mean, I see this, and there's so many comments that are saying, I can't believe this. This guy needs to be put in a home, basically. And it's like, how many... I bet you're guilty of saying the exact same things. How many buildings do you look at a week and roll your eyes at and say, oh my God, like we are surrounded by 98% of total crap. We really, I mean, that's the town I live in. I don't know about the town you live in, but yours is probably a little better because you're in a metropolitan area. But I mean, in LA, I mean, there is a rich fabric here, and it wouldn't be LA without it. But if you look at on this kind of a level of an observation, it is 98% crap. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because, I was talking to a guy in the office and he was looking at, kind of my portfolio of stuff that I've done in the past and stuff that I've done with, the firm I'm working at now. And, he's like, you actually do have like a Cormac style. You can tell that this is a project that you did. So there is a stream of things.
You've got your kit parts. Right?
I've got my kit parts just like he's got his kit parts. And so does, everybody else, in one way or the other. I mean, we don't necessarily reinvent the wheel every time we approach a different project, even though a different project does have, different constraints and stuff. We're not going to say, I'm going to reinvent everything. Look at this. Now it's this and it's upside down and you have to rappel, you have to climb up there to get to the front door.
Well, to me it's like a band. I mean, good bands that are recognizable have a sound,
right.
And it's not any different than that to me. I mean, yes, when you're in school you get to explore all kinds of different design ideas and construction methods because there's never a budget and there's never a client and there's never this or that. But when you're Frank Gehry, people, like he says, people come to him for a certain thing. Right. And if that's what he's set up to do and that's what his people are paying for, his clients are paying for, it's like, look at Richard Meyer's work. Look at Calatrava's work. I mean, you can say the exact same thing.
You can go down the list of what we've dubbed as the Starchitect, and you can literally say that this is a Zaha, this is a this is a that, because they do have a distinct style. And, so whether you like his stuff or not, you've got to respect the approach that he, took with this particular response to this guy's showy architecture. Is just like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just saying that, okay, just because I do something different, now my stuff is crap versus the 98%, or no, I contend that it's different, kind of thing. So,
Well, I guess
that's why I would say that I've had so many different, thoughts on all of this, and it's like, oh, I could take it this way, oh, I could take it that way, and that was, I think, the point of what he was trying to say is, I want you to think about why I would say something like that. Is it you? Is it you?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting, how, like, if you look back at his other projects and you do see some similarities, but you look at what the Guggenheim in Bilbao has done to that region, right? Yeah. I mean, he even quoted it, or somebody did. I guess it was him in the Dezeen article. He says, "Remember that in Bilbao, people got their degree at the university and then they left. No one wanted to live there. It was a sad city. Steel industry was in decline. The port had no reason to exist. Everyone lost their jobs." And you look at that project, and it is revered as his seminal work, right? I mean, it's done so much. It is so iconic that when you can kind of bring, and I'm totally speaking out of ignorance here, so please, if you have a problem with this, just email Neil. But it is transformative. It can be very transformative, and I think maybe that's probably what a lot of people have a problem with when they see a reaction like this flippancy that he flipping the flippancy is that he has the opportunity to do so much, right? Whereas a lot of the projects that we work on can't have that big of an impact. And so for him to kind of know that, and then to be just called out as it being showy, right, which is kind of like the ultimate insult to something that you've put so many years and so much effort, and so many people have done that. I mean, he's really protecting his entire team, the entire construction team, the client, everybody, when he's saying, you know what, this is not nothing, right? And so I say, more power to him. There is way more to this than just a surface treatment, flip of a page in a magazine kind of a thing, where people are just swiping through the stuff and they see this and they think, oh, there's crap. It really is way more than that. And everybody who works in architecture knows how hard it is and how much work it actually is. And if somebody called your work, just a showy piece, I mean, you'd probably take offense to it as well.
Well, I mean, we've talked about in the past the constraints that we've got to live by. Programs, budgets, all of the above and everything else. And, sometimes we take offense to, and I'm going to speak, to a lot, basically all of these comments that, all these different articles and everybody else, it's like, oh, he's just this and he's just, where a lot of it is just out of pure, I don't want to say pure jealousy, but, more pure envy that, well, of course you could do this, because you've got a budget that's 10 times what I have. You've got a client that doesn't care what you do. You can just do whatever you want, whereas I've got all these constraints and everything else. And, then when you get to the point where you say, well, the budget you have isn't enough to accomplish my vision, I want more money, they have a point, that he's able to go well beyond any of the constraints that we typically have. I mean, you and I doing schools, I mean, we've got the tightest of budgets that you could possibly imagine. And they want literally every square footage of that accounted for dollar-wise to make sure that you're not getting too extravagant in what they want, because a lot of times the client feels like the extravagance is costing, a classroom, or, well, because you did that, now I can't have this, or something like that. So, we do have to work within constraints, and, we get pretty envious of projects like this. Because I would love to do stuff like that.
I was just going to ask you guys the question. Are we jealous? Are we jealous of what Frank can do? Because quite honestly, I feel that if I had clients, or you guys had clients that would let you do something like this on a school, I mean, it'd be pretty cool. I mean, that's one of the things we oftentimes talk about on this show is we did an entire episode on constraints and budget and, just buildability of a lot of these things are oftentimes the constraints that we have to deal with. And, hey, Frank has risen to a level in the profession where people will come to him to do crazy shit. And more power to him, like you said, Evan. If he's able to do that, we may not all like it. We may think it's showy, but to him, it means something to him. And I think your comment about his reaction just being very kind of like, hey, damn it, I work really hard on this stuff to make this happen, to make it interesting for me. And that's what drives him to do what he does every day. He took offense to what this guy said. But go ahead.
Well, I'm just to answer your question. Yeah, I mean, I want to work on projects that change the world, and I think that that's what he has the opportunity to do. Now, is he doing it? I don't know. I don't follow him that closely, but there are people out there who are.
He's doing it the way he wants to, or the way he thinks it'll change the world. So, who are we to say he's wrong?
Yeah, right. And I work on projects where it seems like I get told, to make it look less or make it function less, because if we make it look like we're spending too much money here, people are going to think that we're not being frugal with our money. I mean, I live in such a different world than this.
I was told when we were doing a project that, I mean, because we were, we had some, nice canopies and in the way that, the whole building flowed and everything else. I mean, I was quite proud of what the team put together as part of, a really nice design. And the client came back and said, this is too nice for this area. They're going to think that you wasted all of their money on making a building look pretty instead of giving them what they need. Now,
whether you do or not, right? It doesn't.
Exactly. It was the perception. Yes. Because we gave them not only did we give them everything that that was required. Ed spec was required. Right. We actually gave them more. We gave them opportunities for breakout spaces and different functions and everything else that you could do with, standard spaces. We made them more than, the standard. We gave them a lot more, a lot of opportunities to do things. And and we had to basically, rip our own soul out by watering it down. In it.
Or when you get a request by somebody who's in the maintenance department to do something because it's easier to maintain.
Yes.
And I mean, we talk about this in the office all the time. It's like, but you realize that you get paid to maintain stuff.
Right. Right. Oh, I mean, it's sad, especially, in public schools, that literally almost all of our projects are driven by maintenance.
Yep.
And it's not, because we know that they're going to get out there and do the maintenance. It's 9 times out of 10, it's going to slip on the maintenance, and so you need it to last a lot longer, or you need a longer warranty, so that if we forget to do all the maintenance, somebody else can come out and fix it for us or replace it or whatever. So there's a little bit of envy and jealousy and his opportunity to do projects that we otherwise aren't able to do. But, stylistic opinion aside, I think a lot of people are very disingenuous when they're personally attacking him for his style, just because, well, that's not what I would do, and then they would just rip him because of what he does. They're completely forgetting the time, the effort, the whole process that they go through. He's got to go through it too. He's got to do all of this stuff. He's not doing everything in a bubble. They may give him autonomy on the style of what he's going to produce, but he's still got to sit down with them and work out program, work out spaces, work out adjacencies, work out this, that, and the other,
everything,
and he's got to go through the same process as we do. So to just basically say, oh, he's just this, arrogant prick that just does this and that, the other. You're just being disingenuous and completely forgetting that you go through the same thing he does, and go ahead.
Well, I was going to just toss in, I think one of the best things that's come out of maybe not the best, one of the funny things that has come out of all of this is people are having some fun with it. And we're going to have some links in the show notes. So make sure you sign up for those show notes at archispeakpodcast.com. On the right-hand side of just about every page on the site, you can sign up to get the show notes. And we'll have some of them in there. But, I mean, people are already doing, there's this site where you can buy a Gehry's pop art T-shirt with him flipping the bird kind of in the...
Andy Warhol style.
The Andy Warhol. Geez, I forgot it again. Yes, the Andy Warhol style. There's another site, actually on The Onion. There's an image of a sandwich, and it's the title is Frank Gehry no longer allowed to make sandwiches for grandkids. And it's pretty wild looking sandwich, kind of like his architecture, which I think is just brilliant. And then there's another site, a Tumblr site, which actually I just tried as we're recording here, and it is no longer up. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's temporarily down. We'll have the link in, but I'm not sure if it'll still work. But there's an Arc Daily article that also references that, and they include some of the images of other famous architects supporting Frank Gehry on Flipping the Bird. And so it's a lot of fun to go through and see some other famous architects doing the same thing and supporting Frank Gehry.
Yeah, that was awesome. And this is the good and the bad of the internet, right? I mean, number one, you don't feed the trolls in the comments, right? Because there's a lot of people who just anonymously, it's like road rage, right? They just post a bunch of crap and then are trying to get a rise out of somebody, and then you get this other fun stuff like the Tumblr and the T-shirts and the people trying to make light of the situation and make it fun. As far as I'm concerned, this he's 85 years old, and we need more buildings like this. I'm not saying we need exact copies or anything, but the world needs more architecture that people talk about and that they experience and that makes them look up, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing I always think of when I go down to the Walt Disney Concert Hall in downtown LA. That is one building that makes me look up, and there aren't too many buildings that do that to me.
Yeah. Well, Cormac, you said earlier that some of the reaction on the internet has been, or in the architectural circles has been, he's done this huge disservice or to the world of art, or to the rest of us, right? The other 98% of us. Maybe he's actually done some good here in that. What are we all doing? We're all talking about it. I mean, this is hitting Gizmodo and, other sites that are not just architectural related or specific sites. So, I mean it's made he has raised the awareness of architecture in general, whether you agree with what he did or, maybe it was just kind of a off comment that, hey, we're all living under cameras now. So, there's the video, the pictures, and so boom, there it is. But, we're all talking about it now. Exactly. We're doing a whole show on it. So, it's helping to raise that awareness. So, Evan, we can get more buildings that we can, look up to, that'll make us look up.
Maybe the 98%, that feels, pissed off or slighted by his comments or whatever. Now that they're talking, we're now having a good, earnest architectural conversation about style, about approachability, about all of these different things. And you know what? It's good to have the conversation.
I think all of these commenters should go back and listen to our last episode on critique so that they can realize what could make the architecture better. If you've got a problem with it, come up with an idea to make it better.
Exactly.
Actually, people should check out the comments to episode 45 as well. I mean, we had some really good comments in there. Just throwing that out there.
Let's take a minute out of the show to thank our first sponsor ever, who is Wall Protects. And Wall Protects is somebody that we think that our architectural listeners are going to be interested in hearing about. So here's what they are all about. At Wall Protects, we are committed to providing innovative wall protection solutions for all of your commercial projects. We've got a team of dedicated in-house engineers and manufacturers, not to mention over 70 customizable colors and styles to make your visions a reality. Visit www.wallprotex, that's WALLPROTEX.com, and we hope all of our listeners go over there to check it out. Thanks, Wall Protects, for sponsoring our show.
But I mean, I feel extremely encouraged. And in fact, actually, it was one of, my own personal Facebook pages, like, most conversed topics was, and they were some really good, heartfelt comments talking about their own opinion about where it was going and what it was doing and stuff. And in a way, I was sort of playing a little devil's advocate, just trying to get a rise out of people on some opinion that I had, just to see what other people would come up with. And I just thought it was great that the conversation was being had regardless of what side of the fence that you stood on. Because, I've gone in and I've read some, residential architecture comments about it. I've read, traditional and classical architecture's thoughts on, his opinions. And, interestingly enough, as much as you would assume they would be largely negative on, things, I'm sure there was the occasional pot shot at his style, but most of them were actually, even in more traditional architectural circles, people were very appreciative of the conversation.
Well, to me, the goal is the conversation.
Exactly.
It is not to win the argument.
Exactly.
You're not going to change anyone's mind.
And nor should we. What we should be doing is just having the conversation. Again, as we say a lot on this show, what is the end result? Better architecture, right? Yep. That's what we're all shooting for, is better architecture. So have the conversation. Talk about it. You may think that Gehry's work stinks. You may absolutely love it, but you know what? Talk about it. Talk about what makes it good, what makes it bad. Have the earnest conversation, not just this visceral, let's light some torches and burn it all down kind of thing, but have real conversations about what's good, bad, or indifferent, and do it in your work. Make it better.
Yeah, reach out. I mean, and to me, that was kind of one of the hopeful side effects that I had with the last one, is especially if you are practicing on your own and you make all the decisions and you don't ask anybody else to look over your shoulder and, hey, what do you think? Get another set of eyeballs on it. I'm hoping that it would spur some desire to do that, to reach out and do that. I see it even in larger offices where people tend to become the Lone Ranger and they never come out of the cube that they're sitting in all day. And I hope that people are inspired to reach out and have these conversations. Get up from your desk, walk around. What are you working on? Tell me about it, Or, hey, come over here and look at this. What do you think about this? It's the same thing that we're talking about right now. It's, hey, what did you think about that crazy-ass article on the internet? It's the conversation is the goal. I think the more we can share thoughts and ideas, the better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do we think about Gehry's work over time? Is it going to age well? We're going to look at this and some of his projects 50 years from now. Well, we probably won't, but I mean, are people
Speak
going
for
to
yourself, old man?
Yeah. Damn it. I walked right into that one.
Yeah, you did.
Enjoy, everyone. Are we going to look at this work 50 years from now, 100 years from now, if it's, still there
Absolutely.
And
we should all have that goal. I mean, architecture is something that needs to stand the test of time.
But I guess that's the question.
As designers, we have to ask ourselves, we are responsible for what we put out in the world, and we do have to ask ourselves if it deserves to exist. And I feel like projects like his deserve to exist. I mean, they inspire other architects and other people to want more architecture like that. It's probably done a lot more good than it has done bad. And I do think that they will be around. I mean, these materials are things that don't just rot, They're not like the wood buildings that we do. These are titanium and steel and glass, and I bet you that their maintenance department takes a lot better care of these buildings than my clients do.
Fair enough.
I was going to get off on a tangent, talking about maintenance and,
No one wants to hear about that.
The life cycle costing and all of that.
Oh, come on. Don't be bringing us down now. Come on. We're having fun poking the bear
but
here.
I mean, let's take a different route. I mean, we've learned about, through our architectural education and our own personal education and stuff, we've learned about so many other buildings throughout history that basically have been the exact same thing as what, Frank is doing. Hell, the Parthenon, when they probably, the Romans looked at that, they were like, what the, Pantheon, sorry, everyone. I meant Pantheon, honestly. And it just
it is
out.
in Cormac's defense. It is late where he's at recording right now. So.
It is very late, and I was in a marathon meeting all day long, and I got into the office extremely early.
Hey, Cormac,
So-
can you see
85
can you
years
see
old.
this? This is the world's smallest violin here.
But anyway, I mean, could you just imagine what they were thinking about when, they come run up, hey, check out this design in there. What is that crap? Concrete? What? This? No, we don't want that. And now it's one of our most revered buildings that every architect's got some kind of bucket list that they've got to go and see that building and experience that building and watch the sun move across the the ceiling through the Oculus, and just I know it's on mine.
Been there, done that.
Exactly. So I mean,
You could die now.
I could die now. Thank you.
Please
Goodbye.
do.
I'm off.
Seriously. But I mean, just there are so many buildings throughout history that have, created this similar visceral reaction. I mean, what do you think Corbu, the wrath that, Corbu felt from the rest of the world? And did he really care? No. He wanted to do his work.
I think that's really what this comes down to, is that, and I think it does take that mentality to do, kind of iconic work, is you just can't care what other people think. And that's exactly what he did when he gave us the iconic digit.
And
right?
what was the result of every one of the buildings, whether I stated it right or wrong? But I mean, what was the outcome of all of those different buildings? They were game changers. They stepped up the quality of work, and then everybody else said, "Hey, I want to do that." And then pushed and pushed and pushed. Maybe they got into a lull and, everything started looking the same, but they pushed it further. And then it waited for the next person to come along and say, well, this is what we need to do, and then we started having the Renaissance. Then we started pushing it this way and that way, and so that's what we're doing, is we're constantly using these iconic buildings as game changers to advanced architecture.
Yeah, that's why I say we need more of this stuff, not less.
Yeah.
Stop complaining about it.
Yeah.
Have we beat this to death?
I think so.
I believe we just might have.
I think so. Well, then with that, we should sign off.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And remember to go out and leave us a review on iTunes. And if you do have a comment that you don't want to type, you really just want to get it off your chest and tell us, call ArchiSpeak. The number is 415-484-8496. Feel free to call anytime. Try and wake me up in the middle of the night, because it comes to my phone. And, we look forward to hearing your comments, or if you want to go ahead, leave the comments in the comment section. We'd appreciate it. And let's continue this conversation. What do you think of Frank's single-digit salute? Let us know.
Yeah, and thanks again to Wall Protex for sponsoring. And if you're interested, maybe you've got a product or a service that you'd want to get in front of the ArchiSpeak audience, the best-looking audience on the internet, head over to archiSpeakPodcast.com/sponsorship, and you can send us some information, and we'll get in touch.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
All right, good night.
Good night, guys.
It's unpredictable as you forget. If you blow, you can bet